Good morning, beautiful people. Good evening and good afternoon to viewers from all walks of life. This is Nikymus, and you are welcome to the channel of truth, enlightenment, freedom, and the channel of breaking empath free. If you are new on this channel, I talk about narcissism and narcissistic abuse. I talk about spirituality, and I talk about personal and self-development. And if any of that resonates with you, I invite you guys to join us, give us a like, share the video with friends, and you may subscribe if you haven't already. And for those that have always been with us, you are welcome back, and I thank you for your love and support. Guys, nature is home. You cannot get it wrong when you decide to step out of nature. You come out, you kiss the sun, you walk on the beach, you ground, you earth. You can roll in the grass if you want to, but whatever it is you're doing in nature, you cannot go wrong because you're actually connecting with Mother Earth. Now, I want to talk about the matrix. A lot of you guys think about the matrix in your own ways. Most of you have seen the videos about the movie, The Matrix. Some of you see these words on notice boards, vision boards. You see it in books, in magazines, or things like that. But of course, on a very lower dimension, a third dimension, of course, people understand the matrix in a different way. They may just regard it as a simple word, as a simple movie, or something just they come across as they go about their days. But in my own understanding, I've been blessed to understand exactly what the matrix is, because upon my awakening, I've also had the chance to go down the rabbit hole, and I've had the chance also to look behind the veil and to see exactly what are those things that actually have always been hiding from us for as long as we've been lived. And in this video, I'm really going to make you understand exactly what the matrix is all about. What is the matrix? You know what I mean? So for a lot of you guys, maybe you're not awakened, you may not really understand this video. It may not be the video for you. But for the most of you guys who have awakened and do really understand what is going on around them, you simply have to look around you and understand exactly what do they mean by the matrix. Now, simply, the matrix is the big illusion, the big lie, the lie that have sold you all along, as long as you've been living. And for you to understand what the matrix is, I'm going to give you a couple of examples for you to help you open your eyes more and look around you and understand exactly what do I mean by the big illusion and what exactly do I mean by the big lie. Number one, I'll talk about schools. So you wake up in the morning, you're born. The only thing you ever had your parents tell you, go get yourself an education, go study very hard, you've done your studies, the parents have paid a lot of money. And then you went to schools, you study whatever it is you wanted to study. At the end of the day, some of you dropped out of school, but some of you, like I know a lot of chosen ones, they're school dropouts. So in this case, even sometimes you see a lot of chosen ones, a lot of people who have actually done very big things in life. Most of them, they're school dropouts. They don't have college degrees. They don't have diplomas or whatever. They have just dropped out of school and decided to take a different direction. And most of the cases, because they've been thinking outside of the box, they have usually gotten very successful. You guys can do your research. You can go and learn, and there's a lot of them. You can read them from everywhere. So you go to study, you finish your school, you get a job, you work your ass off, day and night. Sometimes some of you guys even work overtime to make sure that you make ends meet. But what are you doing at the moment? You're just paying your bills. I wasn't expecting the wind. You pay your bills, you buy some drinks, you go to the club, you go on dates, you buy a few clothes. The money is finished, you go back to that same routine in the next month. That routine goes on and on and on. And at the end of the day, you're retiring at the age of around 70, maybe 65, depending on where you're coming from or where you're living. You retire with nothing. Sometimes even if you've been lucky and you have usually had a really nice job, you retire at 70 in your Lamborghini. Now, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with a Lamborghini at 70 years old? When you've retired and you think, okay, so now it's time for you to start living your best life. There is no chance for you to think that you're going to live your best life at 70 or at 75. You are just living your old life. You're just waiting for you to die. But at the end of the day, you have spent the whole entire life working in corporations and obeying whatever they have to say. And most of the times, you have actually been making most of those corporations rich. But at the same time, you're being fed by peanuts. Or rather, I can call them breadcrumbs. So education sometimes It is okay to get education. At the end of the day, it's okay. You learn the basic things, like language or things like, the basic things that you need to know. But I want you guys in this video to give me an example. Which one of your teachers have ever come to class and told you that there is some so-called individuals called narcissists, and how have they explained to you how dangerous is narcissism? So you can decide. You can understand that sometimes education is okay. It's okay to get something, to learn something in schools, and to get a diploma, to get a degree, or whatever it is. Maybe sometimes even get a job. But at the end of the day, they do not tell you. Nobody will come and tell you that there's actually other alternatives to life. There is other things you can do to survive and even sometimes to live your best life, a life of abundance and happiness and prosperity. So for you to understand the matrix is one of the ways I can help you understand in this video that you just have to look at the schools and the education system. I'm not against it, but at the same time, there is always alternatives to life, and there's other things that people can do to make a living, and even sometimes live in abundance and prosperity. Example number 2, I'm going to give you guys an example of families. We're still discussing the matrix, so I'll give you an example of the family. Now, so many people around the world, they have been born in dysfunctional families. Very, very difficult families. A lot of you guys, the story can go on and on and on, because I've seen them along my journey. I see them on my channel, and I see them everywhere I go. When you visit those kind of families, they look like the perfect family. You know what I mean? They are the perfect family. They put out that image. Sometimes there's Thanksgiving. They all get dressed up very well. They invite friends and people, relatives and everything. Everybody has a nice meal, very good food and everything. But at the end of the day, most of the times when you're dealing with toxic families, I'm not saying that each and every family around the world is toxic or dysfunctional. There's a lot of families, normal families, people grow up in happiness and everything and love. But there's also a lot of families around the world that have actually trapped their own family members in some kind of a bond, in some kind of a system, in some kind of a cycle. And most of the times, that cycle is extremely dangerous and toxic. So families, sometimes, I've mentioned in my videos every now and again, you guys know that families, those kind of families are run by a narcissist parent at the top. They could be a narcissist, they could be a psychopath, they could be whatever. But a lot of those dysfunctional families, they're operating out of dysfunction. That's the reason why they call them dysfunctional and toxic. So you look in your family, you've grown up with people for all your life. Ever since you was a child, you have been told, your parents tell you that, hey, this is what we do in our family. We're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to do this. We're not supposed to say that. We're not supposed to say this. And most of the times, they confine you in some kind of a little box. You grow up with that mentality, with that mindset, and with that conditioning, thinking that you are supposed to oblige to what the family is saying. But at the end of the day, you're obliging actually to their dysfunction. And what happens? At the end of the day, you notice that actually that own family, it will take an awakened person to realize this. And most of the times, you guys, you've heard me talking about the black sheep. So it will usually take the black sheep to realize that actually there is something wrong with that family, and that family is operating out of dysfunction behind closed doors. So they condition all the family members, they give them roles, they do all these kind of little things, but nothing will be seen on the outside. So anybody who visits that family, for whichever reason, they are going to actually see a perfect family. But behind closed doors, the parents, those narcissistic parents at the top, psychopaths and whatever, they're actually feeding off their own children, and they're destroying and eating their own kids. And at the end of the day, of course, you're going to realize that actually you have spent a very big chunk of your life with the wrong family, which is one of the reasons why I've continuously talked about dysfunctional families. And of course, I'm also glad that a lot of people are waking up and they're getting out of this, and they're starting to live their best life and get themselves back together. So when we're talking about the illusion, the big lie, the matrix, we're also talking about your family. So the matrix, you guys have to be aware, the matrix is around you. Third example of the matrix I can talk about is churches and organized religion. Of course, this may also involve families, because there are some families which follow a certain religion. So they may say they are Pentecost, they may say they are this, they are this. There are so many religions, and I don't want to be specific in this video talking about religions, but I'm going to give you a generalized perception of what I'm talking about here. So you find a lot of families, a lot of people around the world, every Sunday they put on their best clothes, they take their Bibles, they go to church. They are praying, they are worshiping, which is okay. It's okay to pray and worship. But at the end of the day, you're also going to realize that actually at a later point in time, it will usually come to you after awakening that actually this whole thing has been a setup. You know what I mean? Because you see, you will follow a certain religion. And again, I've said there are so many. And each and every religion, They have got their own rules. This is what we do in this religion. That is what we do. You're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to do that. If you do this, you're sinning against God. If you do that, you're sinning against God. So they will now usually start to condition you in a certain way that things you're supposed to follow. This is what you're supposed to read, and that is exactly the commandments. Those are the things you're supposed to follow. So most of the times, people are conditioned through religion. And most of the times, again, people are confined within a very small box, and they are not allowed. Even sometimes, most of the times, a lot of people. I give you a story. I met a person who I think that was about 6 months ago. I met an individual who followed a certain religion. I'm not going to mention who they are, and I will not also mention which religion. So that person used to follow a certain religion, and so we're having a chat here and there, you know. So that person, of course, is not awakened eventually, and the person actually told me that individual told me that that individual had been suspended from our own religion. So there's even religions which have the audacity to suspend individuals, particular members of the church. So that person had been suspended from the religion because they did something which was against their belief. But at the end of the day, as you wake up, you understand that we are sovereign beings. You can think for yourself. You are the God yourself. You have a little God in you. You can actually do things in your own way, and you can still achieve the success, because the only thing what they will not tell you, especially when you're following organized religion and churches and all these kind of things, they will not tell you that actually God lives within you. So you have got the power to do and create all the things that you've ever thought about just by using the power of your mind. So they will not teach you this in churches. They will not tell you about narcissism. They will not tell you that there's things that are in the world that are very dangerous. A lot of them, even sometimes, I've made a video before, and I've told you sometimes there are some of these churches which are run even by narcissists. A lot of churches, even sometimes, they are run by the wrong people. It's the right congregation, but with the wrong people. And now they are conditioning those people to live in a box. They're blinding their eyes and commanding them to do and believe things in a certain way and move in a certain direction, which most of the times, that is also a lie, and it's also a big illusion. When I talk about the matrix also, I talk about governments. Now, who doesn't know that sometimes there are governments around the world that are actually refusing to send their own children to school? They're like, okay, so the girls are not supposed to go to school. The women are supposed to dress like that. I'm not going to mention that, and you guys already know what I'm talking about. So they actually sometimes even condition their own populations to follow their own rules, sometimes even wicked and evil rules. You think about you think for yourself, that's a problem. You do things your way, that's a problem. You punish for that, you jail for that, you persecuted for that. Even sometimes in worst case scenarios, you're prosecuted for that. So you see governments, they tell the kids that, okay, so in our kind of governments, the girls are not going to go to school. In our kind of governments, all the children that are under the age of so and so, they're supposed to be circumcised, and they are telling even sometimes the men and the girls to get circumcised by force. A lot of these things have been happening by force, and they're actually backed up by the governments. Sometimes even the governments are funding them themselves. This is our belief. The other country, they think different, so we're not a part of them. We don't associate with them. Those ones that are different than us, so we are better than those ones, and this one's better than that one. So it's all about a lie. It's all about an illusion. It's all about a lie, because at the end of the day, you realize that actually we are all one, and everybody has got a right to live a life of happiness, love, and prosperity, and a life of freedom. When we talk about the matrix, we also talk about relationships, we talk about friendships, and the people that you believe are the closest to you. So relationships, well, sometimes people are lucky, they get into the right relationships. You might probably meet your soulmate, your twin flame, or whatever. You have a successful relationship and a happy one. But at the end of the day, we also have relationships that are actual false relationships, facades, the wrong ones. And sometimes you meet individuals. On my videos, guys, you already know that we talk about toxic relationships, narcissists, psychopaths, and all these kind of sociopaths and whatever. So we talk about toxic relationships. The matrix is also your wife in your bed. The matrix is your husband in your house. The matrix, even sometimes, they're your kids. So they are selling you a big lie. What am I talking about here? They are telling you that they love you, they have married you, they've had families with you, and you guys seem to be having a happy life, but behind closed doors, actually, they're eating you up. They're feeding off your energy, they're stealing from you, and they're actually destroying you on a very much more subconscious level. And of course, it takes an awakened individual to understand and to realize that actually for a very big chunk of their life, they have been abused emotionally, sometimes physically, or even sometimes sexually, whichever way, but there has been abuse happening in that so-called relationship with the so-called person they are actually assuming to be in love with. So as I'm talking about the matrix, you guys don't have to look very far away from you. You don't have to focus on the words you see on the notice board, the movies or the things like that. Of course, the movie, of course, you guys have watched the movie, The Matrix. You have seen about the things that they talk about, the illusion, the world that we know, and the world that actually, the world that we see in front of us, and the world actually that is behind the veil. So there are two kinds of worlds that they're talking about in that movie. A lot of you guys, I think you have seen the movie. If you haven't done so, I would recommend you guys to go out there. The movie's out there. You can always go and see it, and you can get your own perception of what it's all about. So in this video, that's what I want to tell you guys about the matrix, the big illusion. You have been sold the big lie in so many kinds of ways. And it is always going to take an awakened individual to start looking behind the veil and understand what exactly are the lies that they have been sold all along their life. Let me know what you think about this video in the comment section below, guys. You know I always love and appreciate your support. You want to donate and support to this channel, you can always reach out to my PayPal and Cashapp. They're all in the description below. Until then, I'll get back in touch with you. Much love and blessings. There's Almost signing out, and peace.